What does painful gas, urges to gamble, and being molested by a toaster have in common? Well, stay tuned to find out. You're listening to Our Different Take, episode 31. Welcome to Our Different Take, or welcome everyone to Our Different Take.
And someone and anybody else.
And anyone else. My name is Brian, proud father of two awesome boys, Jedi podcaster. This is the way. And to my left is Scott. Welcome, Scott.
That's so beautiful. I don't even know if I'm worthy of such an introduction.
Not many people get one.
That's
Not
amazing.
many people get one like that.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my name is Scott. I am from the Republic of Texas. Semi-proud father, most of the time proud father, kind of sometimes proud father of three girls, and sometimes they're awesome, sometimes they're not so awesome. But yeah, right now they're pretty awesome. So we'll stick with that.
That's a win.
Yeah, interested in all kinds of fun stuff. Basically interested in the truth, whatever that is, and things that might be truth that I'm not quite sure if they are or not. So that's what we do here is we explore possibilities. And that's another thing we're doing tonight. Talking about, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, a couple different things, actually. You know, we're going to talk about some different medicine that you can take and the side effects and the treatments. Can you trust your doctor? Can you not? What do you believe? Who do you believe? What do you put into your body?
I think it kind of comes down to, do you trust yourself to make your own decisions, or do you rely on somebody else to make those decisions for you?
Good one. That would be correct. There's so many things out there that, you know, some of the stuff we're talking about tonight, going through the research, I'm like, holy crap, you're going to recognize some of these, you know, these drugs that people are taking to, you know, maybe help stop smoking, you know, help you go to sleep. But when you look at the side effects on these things, you know, is the doctor really looking out for you? Are you trusting him when you shouldn't be? And you should be trusting yourself, like what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hopefully this brings some stuff to light. And, you know, some of this stuff is, I don't want to say funny. I mean, some of it is a little bit that way, but
Some of it is kind of funny, yeah.
yeah. And, you know, again, we're not doing this to make fun of people if they are on this stuff. And some of the side effects that people have while they're on this stuff, and some of the treatments that you're going to go through from, you know, way back in history up through modern times. Should we be trusting people with our health like that?
Yeah, it's hard to know the answer to that, and obviously everybody's going to be different with it. And so, you know, we're not trying to necessarily give medical advice here tonight. We're just trying to basically say what we always say: think for yourself, question everything, question everyone, and some of the things that they're currently doing that maybe have some weirdness going on with them, and some of the things that they did in the past that each time it's all based on, you know, so-called evidence or science. Interesting stuff. So yeah, think for yourself.
Think for yourself. Well, do you want to start with some of your treatments for certain conditions?
Yeah, so, you know, anytime that anybody talks to me about medical science and how the doctors would never do anything, they would never prescribe anything that was going to hurt you. You kind of, all you got to do is just pull up, you know, Google and Google weird medical treatments that used to be effective, used to be seen as effective, and you get all kinds of fun things. One of the things that they used to do is we know how poisonous mercury is, like just a drop of the stuff can kill you. And they used to use that as a common cure for syphilis, or for different kinds of, it's like an antibiotic, that they now use penicillin for. They used to use mercury for it. So, I guess that would probably kill whatever it is that the penicillin would kill, but it would probably also kill you. So, I mean,
Well, you
I
wouldn't
don't,
have it anymore.
I guess you wouldn't. You wouldn't have
Yeah,
syphilis anymore, but
yeah,
you'd probably be a little dead. So it's kind of.
a little
Did you ever
dead.
have those little things? I don't know. When I was a kid, I used to play with mercury. You, did you ever do that?
What? How did you play with mercury? Where was it at?
So we had these little things. It was like a little maze, and instead of having like a little steel ball, like a BB in the maze,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
do you
Mm-hmm.
remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I brought it to school,
Show
and
and tell.
yeah, and so we're sitting there, a bunch of little sixth and seventh graders and stuff. We're playing with a little ball of mercury, and nobody seemed to care. It's just kind of like
Yeah.
whatever.
Hey, isn't that cool?
Here we are, here we are about killing ourselves, and the teachers are all like, "Oh, what a fun looking game that is."
Well, didn't a lot of the thermometers have mercury?
They did, yeah. So if you
Yeah,
busted one, then there it was all over the place. But even these fluorescent lights have mercury in them,
true, true.
and so do some vaccines and lots of things that have mercury in it. And we know that it's very toxic, yet it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. The doctor will say it's fine in your
Yeah,
vaccine. Put it in your body.
yeah, yeah. And so obviously there's concerns about some of that with many people. They say that it's in a safe form or whatever, and maybe it is. Maybe I don't know. But I do know that it doesn't take a whole lot of mercury to do very bad things to your body. So kind of an interesting thing that they used to treat syphilis with. You go out there and have a good time and inject yourself with mercury.
How did they get to that point where the doctor's like, you know what? You got something wrong with your nuts. Let's put mercury in your body for these nuts.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, yeah, I guess you had to think of it maybe kind of like, what is going to kill this disease? And they're like, well, mercury will do that. And I guess they didn't even think about the fact that, oh hey, this stuff is going to leach through your skin and get into your blood and kill you.
Would they put it in? Like, would you ingest it or rub it on something? I'm
It
wondering.
I I don't know. It looks like they used to ingest it. Let's see. In his quest to find an elixir that would bring him immortality, it's believed that Chinese Emperor Qin Shi Huang turned to liquid mercury. In the end, sadly, he met his demise from mercury poisoning.
Huh.
Strange how weird that is.
Yeah, that's kind of weird that Shang Li Wang went down like that.
Shang Li Wang.
Isn't that his name? What was the name? That was
Uh, Qin Shi Huang.
oh, I was talking about his brother. His brother
Oh,
was
yeah.
still that.
Gotcha. Yeah, understandable.
Yeah,
So,
sorry.
speaking of syphilis, one of the other treatments that they used for syphilis was bloodletting.
Whoa.
So, in other words, if your blood carries syphilis, well, obviously, we need to get rid of your blood.
That makes sense.
So let's go ahead and just drain it out, and once it's all gone, you won't have syphilis anymore. Another thing that they used to do bloodletting with was leeches. So I can't even imagine, you got syphilis. Well, let's hook up a let's hook up a leech to to your goods so that
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
horrible.
It
Horrible.
doesn't sound very fun to me.
No.
Um, so yeah, also they would lance the body with metal instruments. Um, yeah, doesn't sound like a doctor visit that I would be super interested in going to.
Well, I'm
Um,
gonna guess that when they're lancing it, it's not like acupuncture nowadays. It's probably what like a pencil jabbed into your neck.
yeah, something like that. I think the acupuncture was a tiny little needle, and this was not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of bloodletting, another another ancient treatment for certain diseases was called trepanning. Am I pronouncing that right? Trepanning.
Tree panning.
So it's the process of drilling a hole through the head. And this one was used for psychiatric conditions such as psychosis and hysteria, which, by the way, hysteria we'll get to a little later on, one of the fun treatments that they had for that. But they used it because they thought that demons were caught inside the head and they needed a hole to get out of the head.
Hmm.
So, what better way to give them that hole than to drill one into your head?
Yeah, that
It,
makes sense.
it was also used to treat migraines and epilepsy. Your wife says, I got a migraine. Okay, let me get the drill out.
Well, shoot, you got to know too that back in the day, probably there is not a battery powered drill. It's probably like one of those hand
Oh,
drills that you're trying to like
oh,
grill into the ice with to ice
God,
fish.
that's awful.
I'm just saying that's probably what it is. There's no DeWalt drill hanging out back then
Oh,
with a nice sharp drill bit.
and if you go too far in the skull, what are you gonna do?
Ooh,
Start drilling right into brain and oh my God, that's brutal.
yeah, those poor people that went through that just because they have a migraine.
Ugh. So before that happened, one of the kinds of medicines that they did was they would use body parts and body fluids from deceased people as medicine. So a lot of people would make their living basically robbing graves and they would get the bodies out of there. And if they were really old, they could grind them up into powder. And that was one of the cures for migraines is ground up skull, because I guess if you got a headache, then what better thing to take for it than somebody else's ground up skull? And, and they thought that drinking the blood of fallen gladiators could cure epilepsy. They would also use urine therapy,
Okay.
which was believed to fight off everything from strep throat to aging.
Wow, aging.
I'm feeling a little old today. Somebody pee in my mouth, would you?
That gets rid of your strep throat at the same time and makes you younger.
Had a little sore throat too, so kill two birds with one
Oh,
stone. I'm I'm feeling younger already.
jeez. All right. So if they're grinding up parts and feeding them to you,
Ah,
like if you have a headache, you get skull parts. What
hmm.
if your butt's hurting? Do you get like an ass shake? Where they I'm just curious.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was maybe that's what Al Packer had. The guy up in
He did.
Colorado. Remember him?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Maybe he was just feeling a little ill.
That's probably all it was, honestly. All right, so
Uh,
peeing on someone stops aging and stops strep throat at the same time.
so another thing that they used to do to cure diseases in all the way up into the 1900s was using radioactive water as a treatment for mental illness and get this age prevention.
Whoa.
That'll do it. That'll do it. So aside from water, radium was eventually added to chocolates, toothpaste, contraceptives, and suppositories. At the height of its
Uh,
popularity, the article says the U.S. Surgeon General believed radium was a genuine and effective treatment for malaria and diarrhea. It was also used as a spa treatment in hot springs.
well, it's very versatile compound there then.
Yeah, so if you have, well, I guess contraceptives, that kind of goes without saying. But if you're constipated, I guess you go hang out near Fukushima.
Yeah. Yeah. Then not only does it clear you out, but then your intestines are hanging out of your butt too.
And growing a third intestine
You're
outside your
growing.
body.
That's right.
Oh
The
my
old
gosh.
external uh
The hell were these
in,
people thinking? So,
intestine.
uh, this one kind of goes on to, I think, something you're going to be talking about a little bit later on, but it's legit. So, we use morphine, and we have used morphine to treat strong pain. It was commonly used as an at-home remedy in the early 1900s, and morphine, heroin, opium um, all come from poppies.
Mm.
And so you could buy all of those, and even cocaine could be bought over the counter to treat the common cold or menstrual cramps or insomnia. You could even buy an injection kit from Sears and Roebuck.
No way. Right out of the catalog.
Right out of the catalog. Got a little heroin I need to take, and don't have my needle and spoon and candles. So let's pull up the Sears and Roebuck catalog and order me one. Okay, yeah. So I don't know which one was used for insomnia, but surely not cocaine. Surely
I
cocaine would
wouldn't think
cause
so.
insomnia.
Yeah.
Had to
Right.
have been the opium products that were used for insomnia, because that stuff will knock you out.
Okay.
But
All right.
in the 1890s, Bayer, like Bayer aspirin,
Mm-hmm.
Bayer Pharmaceuticals sold heroin as a panacea for children's coughs.
Whoa.
I could just, I could just see that little
That's
Johnny's like, I got a, a cough. Can I have some? Can I have some of that
right.
medicine, mommy? Oh
Yeah.
shit! S-
I think heroin would make your cough go away though.
It does. It does. I mean, that's why they add codeine to cough syrup, right? Codeine is
Yeah.
a opium derivative. So, I mean, there's it's legit, but maybe not such a good idea to put in children's cough syrup, though. Bunch of little
Right.
heroin addicts.
Probably not.
And many doctors advocated for the use of cocaine as a cure for depression. Even Sigmund Freud in the 1940s thought cocaine was a wonder drug and should be used for all kinds of mental illnesses.
Hmm.
So, interesting stuff there.
For sure.
Um, Okay, so we've all heard the expression blow smoke up your ass. Well, that came from a old cure for headaches, typhoid fever, cholera, hernias, colds, and to prevent death in general. So what they would do is they would smoke a cigar, smoke tobacco, and take what looks like the little thing that you use on your fireplace to, blow air in there.
Right.
Yeah, and they'd blow smoke up your ass, literally. So they would literally put it up your butthole. And it says the practice was first used on people who were drowning. I guess that was supposed to bring them back to life. And I don't know, maybe it would. Somebody shoves that up your butt when you're drowning,
Yeah.
and
Right.
I don't know, maybe that would wake you up. I don't know. But this was a medical procedure prescribed by doctors. Granted, it was in the 1800s, but this one is fun. At the end of the 1800s, early 1900s, you talked about hysteria
Mm-hmm.
earlier. This was one of the things that wasn't it they drill a hole in your head for
Yeah.
hysteria. So for some time, women were believed to suffer from hysteria quite a bit more than men. It's kind of why the hysterectomy. They thought that the women, they thought that that's what made the women's parts is what made them kind of you know susceptible to this disease, and so susceptible to hysteria. So anyway, one of the cures for that was for the doctors to go in and manually stimulate women to orgasm. I can only imagine that doctor's visit. I, I,
He's booked out for 3
honey,
years.
honey, I'm feeling hysterical. I need another doctor visit. You've been going to the doctor an awful lot lately.
Wow.
So, some doctors didn't want to perform this themselves. So, by the end of the 1800s, a doctor invented an electric vibrator, which would reduce the treatment to 10 minutes as opposed to that laborious hour worth of sexual stimulation. Unbelievable. And you used to be able to buy vibrators in the Sears and Roebuck catalog.
A side note that in the Guinness Book of World Records, that doctor has the largest thumb on Earth. Just throwing out some facts. Throwing out some facts.
So, for erectile dysfunction, they used to use shock treatment. They made you wear a belt that had little shock thingies on there. It was go around your abdomen, and it would supposedly treat male impotence. And they used that all the way up to about 1950.
Were there like electrodes coming from the belt onto Mr. down there?
It just says the abdomen. It doesn't say Mr. Down there. Although I can't speak to that. Not, I think I'd probably rather have the erectile dysfunction than that. I don't know,
Right?
man.
I'd think if they're going to shock around your abdomen, you'd probably, instead of not having erectile dysfunction, you're more likely to like poop your pants. Right? Or
Which
no?
which would tend to cause that kind of thing anyway, wouldn't it? I mean, that's kind of hard to get
Yeah.
interested in sex when you get
Drop.
poop coming out of your drawers.
Not that I'm a doctor or we are that we
Yeah.
really know, but we're just speculating at this point.
The wife's like, "Honey, I've got a headache." Well, wait a minute, I got a drill for that.
That's right. Well, let me hook up this battery to your penis. Ooh.
Oh my God. Okay. So, one of the other things that they used to do, and if you've ever watched the Jack Nicholson, Jack Nicholson was the golfer.
Yeah.
The Jack Nicklaus show, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Good show.
Frontal lobotomies were very common in mental hospitals to cure mental disorders, including psychosis and schizophrenia. And so they would stick ice pick like tool, dear God, through the eye and into the prefrontal cortex of the patient's brain. Once the tool was in place, it was struck by a hammer.
Good grief. That's horrible. It's horrible.
Oh my God. This was done all the way up through the 1950s.
Have you ever seen that movie Sucker Punch?
I have not.
It probably came out 5 years ago, and it's a cool movie. I mean, it's really cool. I really like it. And it's this girl had a rough family life or whatever, and the dad or stepdad or something put her in a mental institution, she tried to escape or whatever, and they ended up doing a frontal lobotomy on her. But in
Hmm.
between them doing that, real life, it moved to like a fantasy of what she was thinking in her head, and it's more of like an action movie at that point, where they've got guns and stuff and flying all over the place, and then it goes back and
Hmm.
forth between what's in her mind and then reality. In the end, it's sad, but it's Sucker Punch. It's a cool movie.
Yeah, sounds like a good
Yeah,
one to
yeah,
watch.
check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. All that. There's so many of those mental health things when you look at some of that stuff. Even today, I won't get into what's going on today in that, but some of the mental health treatments were just absolutely ghastly that they used, and they used them up into 70s, 80s. I mean, shock treatment and stuff like
Right?
that. I mean, it's terrible, terrible stuff. Um, so a malaria therapy that was, again, I don't know what the hell all this stuff's got to do with syphilis. There's like three of these treatments that they were trying to fix
Hmm.
syphilis. Guess a lot of people must have had that back in the day, but they thought that you could actually uh, cure syphilis by inducing patients with fevers caused by malaria using parasites. So, in other words, the parasite would have malaria. They would introduce that parasite into the body. They would give you malaria, and that was supposed to fix your syphilis. The practice was discontinued once it was understood that malaria is, in fact, a deadly disease.
Huh. Oh, amazing.
Oh, hey, here's another one that was used to treat syphilis.
Did
Unbelievable.
everyone have
So,
syphilis?
arsenic. I guess so. It must have really been a problematic disease because they were doing all
Sure
kinds of
focused
stuff
on
to
that.
fix it. So they give you arsenic.
Oh, okay.
Arsenic was also used to treat headaches, again, headaches, fevers, and blood disease. And they would just give that to you, and of course, arsenic is a deadly poison. So, um, and then chloroform, which we all know is, on all of the 70s movies where they're trying to capture somebody without killing them. They put a chloroform on a little rag and they put it over the person's nose, and that makes them become unconscious. So chloroform was used as an anesthetic in 85 to 90% of all procedures that involved surgery and childbirth,
Hmm.
right? So they just had to sniff a rag soaked in chloroform that would make them become unconscious, and the doctors would take it from there. But chloroform also was a problematic drug and was causing more problems than it was curing. So they ended up halting that. One of the other things that they did in weight loss, all kinds of fun medical cures for weight loss. One of them was to feed you tapeworms. You would ingest a tapeworm
Ugh.
egg, and that tapeworm would then hatch down in your stomach and would grow up to 30 feet long. And as you would eat, the larger the tapeworm was, the more that it would suck the nutrition out of your food. And so you would basically starve yourself skinny. And then once you got to a skinny enough uh, place, you would take some poison pills that were designed to kill the tapeworm. And hopefully at that point, you would excrete the tapeworm safely and you would be done losing weight.
Yeesh. Like, how long would it take to poop out a 40-foot tapeworm?
I
How
can't
does
even
that?
imagine what it would
Jeez.
what would it be like? Like you s- it's like the poop squeeze that never ends,
It's
right?
like the movie Alien.
Oh, it's like you're just pulling spaghetti out of your butt,
Yeah.
for like 5 minutes. It's like that clown handkerchief.
That's like a four flusher right
Exactly.
there. That's not just a one flusher. It's
It's like a clown handkerchief, except it's up your butt.
oh man. See, people don't think about this stuff.
Oh,
That's why we're here.
question
Question everything.
everything.
Sure. Take a take that worm, but what happens on the back end? That's
Oh.
what you got to think about.
Another thing that they used to do back in the day is if you wanted to lose weight, then you should start smoking because cigarettes are an appetite suppressant, which is true. They are an appetite suppressant. Of course, they end up doing all kinds of other things. They're horribly addictive and mess up your lungs and blah, blah, blah. But they will cause you to lose weight. So, I guess that's kind of like the thing with any drug, right? You can have a drug that has a desired side effect, like nicotine
Hmm.
did. It's an appetite suppressant, but it causes side effects elsewhere that are way worse than what you were trying to fix to begin with. You have some of those, right?
I do. I do. I've got, you want me to move on to some of those? Or are you done?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, listen to a lot of stuff you've got, we're talking, what, 17, 18, 1900s, back in caveman days. We don't know what's going on with the body. We're just going to put bad stuff into our body, even though we didn't think it was bad, like arsenic. Well, come to this period here, and through the miracle of new drugs, there's no difference. So we'll talk about like some of the drugs that a lot of people are taking now. Basically, like Prilosec. You've probably heard of that.
Yeah. The little purple
Mm-hmm.
pill,
It's used
right?
for heartburn. Actually, I've taken that before, and it does work. A side effect of that is major gas passing. Yeah,
Huh.
I didn't experience that myself because I took it for like 3 days, but I didn't experience that. But that is a side
Hmm.
effect. I think you probably take Prilosec 4 or 5 times a day, honestly.
Never had it. I don't need it. I'm a manly farter. I don't need drugs to cause that.
Right.
Eesh.
Well, so if you've got schizophrenia, you go talk to your doctor and they are going to prescribe you olanzapine. Now that, it's supposed to treat schizophrenia where you'll be better, if you take this drug. There's a couple things it does to you though. It changes the way you walk. It gives you an abnormal gait. So now you could audition for The Walking Dead. It gives you a mask-like face. So what that is it's kind of what it sounds. If you put a mask on, that mask does not move. It doesn't have reactions to people. It's just there. That's what your face turns into, just like a mask.
Hmm.
You can't smile. It's just a blank stare, mask-like face, and then unusual twisting movements of the body. I mean, some of those are pretty bad. If you take that drug, it's bad.
Now, this I assume is not everybody
It
that's
doesn't say
taking it,
everyone. You know how you look on the back or you listen to the side effects of every drug that's on TV. Yeah, where,
right?
you take this and you're going to have a heart attack and even though everyone's running around the park with smiles on their face and you're supposed to have oily stools and all that, but they're sure happy sliding down the slide. So, yeah. So these are
Oily, oily stools will make you go
they
faster down the
will.
slide.
They will. You'll be the hit of the park with those oily stools.
The person after you's not going to be happy.
No, but then you can go home and fry some chicken with it too. Multi-use.
Oh, that's disgusting.
So, yeah, these are
Mm.
possible side effects. Not everyone gets this. Mirapex is another one. Restless leg syndrome. It treats restless leg syndrome. You will get unusual urges to gamble.
How
Yeah,
about that?
yeah. So your leg will be fine. You're like, oh shoot, I need to go play some craps, right? Unusual urges to
Huh.
gamble.
All right.
Chantix. Have you heard about? This is for when you stop smoking. It's supposed to help you stop smoking. You see commercials for that. A lot of people take it to quit smoking. But what it can do, it can turn your dreams into what it's called Cronin. I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but it's Cronenbergian nightmares. That's named
What is that?
after a guy. His last name is Cronenbergian. I don't remember his first name, but he was a horror filmmaker. What a Cronenbergian nightmare is a couple different things. People sometimes see an invisible If you're on it, you will see it, but it's a malevolent entity that emanates from air conditioners.
What?
Yeah. I'm just doing my studies from the internet, so
A ghost that lives in an
mhm.
air conditioner?
Yeah, kind of a
Huh.
scary one. Not a good one, scary one.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah.
One guy that took it said he was getting ready for work one day, and he ended up being paranoid that he was going to be physically raped by a household appliance,
I wonder,
a
wonder which kind.
a
Like a
vacuum
vacuum
cleaner,
cleaner
toaster, blender. I don't know.
Dang, man.
It would be
Oh,
bad.
that would
So
be.
I can
Oh, that'd be
understand how
bad.
that guy would be paranoid about that because that would be bad. An apple core.
Can you imagine going into the counselor with that? What are you here for? Well, I feel like my household appliances want to rape me.
All I wanted to do was quit smoking. Uh,
That
yeah.
microwave looked at me kind of funny.
He told me my
Uh,
time was up. Uh,
oh, wow.
yeah.
What
There's
a
another
horrible
one.
thing to happen.
Yeah, I would rather smoke. I would rather
Right?
keep smoking
I
than do
would
that.
think that dreams like that would make me want to wake up and smoke.
Yeah, seriously.
Be all stressed.
Hmm. There's another one called Plavix that people take to prevent blood clots. So this can cause uncontrollable gun bleeding, or you vomit up some stuff that looks like coffee grounds.
Gross.
Yeah, so your gums are bleeding, you're throwing up coffee grounds, but on the positive side, you will not have blood clots.
Oh, yeah, well, there's that.
Yeah.
You got Ambien in there anywhere?
Actually, my next one is Ambien.
Oh, because man, I've got some stories about people I know done Ambien. Oh my gosh.
Well, what do you all I have for Ambien is it can cause severe sleepwalking, or a lot of people sleep eating. They eat like crazy when they're asleep. So,
So that's it? Sleepwalking and sleep eating?
well, I didn't have time to type out everything because there's like a crap load on there. So, uh, share your story and enlighten us.
All right, so I know people who've taken that stuff who then proceed to go shopping online.
While
And
they're under the effects of it?
yes, like while they're under the effects of it. So they go shopping and they've totally the next day don't know that they went shopping. So I knew a woman who literally she was on Ambien, literally then like got 96 packages show up
Whoa.
on her front porch. And she's like, uh, I don't know what's in any of these boxes.
Holy moly.
She had no recollection of even getting on Amazon and ordering this stuff. But she apparently got up in the middle of the night and needed to go online shopping. And so she
Wow.
bought all, and it happened several times. This was not a one-off, a one and done thing. It happened several times to this woman before she said, "I just can't do this anymore. This
Wow.
Ambien stuff's no good."
Yeah.
And you talk to other people who Ambien apparently can produce homicidal side effects. So like people will like wake up and they'll be on Ambien and they'll be like, "I must kill my husband," and they do it and then they don't even realize that when they come out from it the next day, they didn't even realize that they did it. Pretty messed up.
I bet you a
I don't
lot of
know. I
people are
don't.
on that too.
I don't know how. I don't know how they keep that stuff up with side effects like that. I really don't.
Well, I wonder how much they charge. How much does the pharmaceutical company charge for that? Right? That's the bottom line right
Yeah,
there. It's worth a lot of money to them, no matter what
yeah.
happens to people.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, the last one I've got is called Zelodia, Xeloda, and it's used to treat people that have cancer of the colon. If you are a criminal, you might want to take this because it makes your fingerprints disappear.
Serious?
Yeah, it makes your fingerprints disappear. That one's kind of handy right there. You get rid of cancer at the same time, and then you don't have any fingerprints. No one can track you.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe take it beforehand. Get rid of your fingerprints so that you don't leave any.
Right. Yeah. It's a perfect plan. But anyway, I mean, some of these side
It's
effects of
weird.
these drugs are almost as bad as some of the treatments that you were talking about, really.
Right.
And
Because you got to know that the mercury that they ingested didn't kill everybody, right?
right.
If it killed everybody, they would have figured it out pretty fast.
Mhm. Right.
So it eventually killed several people, and then over time they figured out, hey, this stuff's bad for you. So like the pharma drugs, pharma will be quick to say, oh no, it doesn't. These are side effects. It doesn't hit everybody, and whatever. Of course, it doesn't hit everybody because if you got a side effect that's causing every single patient's fingerprints to disappear, who's taking it, probably people would say, look, I don't want my fingerprints to disappear,
Mhm.
and they wouldn't take. So yeah, it's only hitting certain people, but the old treatments, apparently they must have had at least some anecdotal, placebo effect because people kept doing them.
I think and the bottom line what it comes down to is like we were talking about before is, how much money's involved in this stuff.
Right.
So the people that take Chantix or Ambien or Olzonapine, I'm sure some of these things are not cheap, and the pharmaceutical companies don't give a crap about these side effects because the bottom line is people are going to buy them because they think it's going to work. Doctors are going to prescribe them, and it's going to just keep happening over and over and over. No matter how many people sue these companies. I mean, what do these guys have? Like 400 lawyers probably and $8 billion that they can, protect themselves.
Yeah, no question. They get sued all the time, so they just build that into their cost of doing business. Somebody's going to sue us, and we're going to have to pay out a certain amount for claims
Right.
because our products are going to hurt certain people.
And if doctors didn't prescribe Chantix and no one was taking it eventually, no, they'd stop making it.
Right.
But it's not that way. It's all about the dollar because we keep
I've
taking that
seen
stuff.
some places. I've talked to certain doctors who basically they can't not do what some of these pharmas are telling them to do because there's a standard of care issued for certain things. And so if the doctor thinks some alternative treatment is appropriate, in many cases, they really can't talk about it. They have to do a certain standard of care, especially in cancer treatments. There's a certain thing. And if you don't, you take a risk of actually losing your medical license or being sued.
Well, bottom line, what would be your bottom line for this, senior?
Bottom line is that these people who are prescribing things have differing motivations, and that those motivations aren't always make you better. And in some cases, I think that they're actually designed to keep people kind of sick. Because if you're kind of sick, you need to keep
Mm-hmm.
going back and taking more pills. You need to keep going back and getting more treatments. If you're completely healed of something, you don't need that. So you got to consider the motivations of who is talking to you. Sometimes maybe they're right, and sometimes maybe they're wrong. But you always have the decision to make ultimately on your own body. You are
Mm-hmm.
your own best doctor.
Yeah, don't like we were saying before is you need to make the decision. You need to think twice about it. You need to be skeptical about all this stuff and don't just take it because some doctor said that's the way to go, or because you hear it on the
Right.
news, or all of your friends are doing it. Don't be a sheep.
What is it? The number one or the number two advertising dollar for media stations comes from
Mm.
pharma right now. I don't remember which one it is, but it says number one or number two. And so, you're going to get half a story. You're going to get half a story. You're going to get you think, the media companies are going to go run a story that's critical of the company that's giving them their advertising dollars to pay their salaries,
No,
and it's not
that'll
going to
never
happen.
happen.
So you'll get all the good stuff, but you're not going to get any of the bad stuff. So you got to think for yourself on it. You're being told half a story, and maybe it's still good for you, but maybe it's
Well,
not.
and there's several different types of manipulations on these commercials too, right? So if you listen to a lot of these songs, some of the music that they're playing, they're getting them from like 80s music, right? Because, people that were in the 80s now are getting a little bit older. Doctors are going to start prescribing them things, and they're taking these happy 80s songs, changing the words a little bit so that'll relate more to these people, like one night in Bangkok when you take these drugs. So I don't know if that's it or not, but something like that.
Yeah, Murray Head is turning in his grave right now. If he wasn't dead before, he is now.
Oh man. But that's a different type. Everyone relates to that music. The 80s were a great period for all of us. And then you listen to this ambient stuff with this 80s song playing, and you might not think it in your head and relate the song to ambient being good, but your subconscious sure does, because they love that song. Your subconscious loves that song. So there's all kind of manipulation that they use for that. That's my
Right.
bottom line right there. That's my bottom
That's
line.
your bottom line? Your
My
bottom
bottom line
line.
would be tapeworms, but
Yeah.
that's a line out of my bottom.
I don't know.
I'm gonna stop right there.
That's so. Oh, that is gross. Yeah. On that note,
It's getting late.
it definitely is getting late. So thank you for listening this week. We are now heard. We are now heard in over 500
Oh man,
galaxies.
we are out of control.
It is.
We are out of control. I love it.
It is amazing, and we cannot say how thankful we are to all the people here and in the other galaxies and whatever those things are that are listening to us over that. So please, if you have questions or comments to us, call our voicemail line at 970-343-4594, and we'll listen to your voice, and we may not do anything else, but we will listen to it. So if you are interested, go to ourdifferenttake.com or our Facebook group called ODT Nation, and follow us on Instagram at Our Different Take. Please send us your comments, suggestions, complaints, or questions to show@ourdifferenttake.com. And please don't forget to subscribe so that you can hear all of our riveting commentary, like, about what we talked about this week. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts and look for us wherever you get your podcasts from. We have a YouTube channel called Our Different Take. Please subscribe. Click the bell so you'll be alerted when a new podcast is released. And remember, question everything.
Peace.
Good night.